hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're all set, so we just got the green light from Focus. We're gonna call this public speak out portion of the Springfield City Council meeting to order. We have 6 speakers signed up tonight. Let me get rid of that echo. We have 6 speakers signed up tonight. The first speaker signed up is Mark Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, here to speak about youth football program.
Yes. Hello, how you doing?
Good. Everybody gets 3 minutes, and there's the clock. Thank you.
All right, so my name is Mark Jenkins. I'm a youth football coach in Springfield. Go by the name of Coach Waddy. A lot of people know me by that name. So I'm here to speak on behalf of the Springfield Tigers. So we're a local youth football program. What I would consider is the best youth football program in New England. And every year around this time, we have multiple teams make it to nationals. So every year around this time, we have parents scrambling, coaches, just families really struggling to try to raise enough money to get to nationals, which is in Naples, Florida again this year. So I was here to speak on and see if there are ways that, the city can kind of get behind us and either financially support us or at least give us some visibility so the community knows what's going on, who we are, what we're doing, how long we've been doing it, and just trying to get some support. I understand that I know that the city does support us financially in ways, but that really just covers like the regular season cost of what's going on, the equipment and things like that. And making it to nationals is a huge achievement, and it sucks to see that some kids don't make it every year just because they, families are financially struggling. So I'm here just to, again, speak on behalf of the program and see if we could get some kind of financial backing to support us.
Thank you very much. So do you have a fundraiser of some sort that
So we do fundraisers. We do. So one thing we're doing right now, it does work, but we do standouts. We call them standouts. It's panhandling. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what we're doing right now to kind of raise some money. And again, it conflicts sometimes with parents' work schedules and things like that because we do them on the weekends. And it helps us out, but it doesn't really cover the cost like we would need it to.
Well, this forum isn't really conducive to having sort of a conversation, which this might necessitate, but if you get some of the information about your fundraising activities to the council staff, we'll make sure to distribute it, and
okay.
I'm sure that some of the councilors would be happy to help promote that.
All right, appreciate it.
Councilor Click Bruce?
Just real quick, I thank you, Mr. Jenkins, for coming and speaking on behalf of the youth football program. I do, Councilor Fenton gave me the youth committee for stuff like this. So okay. Just to tackle some of these issues, thanks for coming here, but I think it's a bigger conversation we can have as well. Definitely take Councilor Fenton's suggestion on doing that, but I'll talk with you offline to actually put this into our committee to see if we can come up with some creative ways to assist you. Again, it may be not for this year, I'm just being honest, but it's definitely something we can start building for the future for sure.
Appreciate it.
So again, thank you for coming, and I know what the program does specifically to our youth in the city of Springfield.
Absolutely, thank you, appreciate it.
Mr. President, I had a question.
Sure. Councilor Walsh and Councilor Allen both want to ask questions. If we could try to keep it really quick, because we do have 5 other speakers we got to get to, but go ahead, Councilor Walsh.
Very quick, I wanted to know where the nationals are and when they are.
So they're in Naples, Florida, December 7th through December 15th is how long we'll be down there.
Thank you.
Councilor Allen?
Is this the team that Yes, it is. It is. Yes, yep. He's on our 13U team, yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for having me.
Okay, our next speaker is Shara Beebrook. Shara Beebrook? Maybe it's Beebrook, I can't tell penmanship. Okay. Mr. Jenkins, Shara was on the same subject. Do you know if she's coming to speak? Oh, she did, okay. Thank you. Oh, of course. Okay, our next speaker is Erica Swallow. Good evening, Erica.
Good evening. Hello.
Hi.
Here. All right. Erica Swallow, Springfield Preservation Trust, 74 Walnut Street. I'm speaking in support of the resolution on Stern Square Bench. I just wanted to provide some background information on the bench and its removal. So the bench was, here's a poster board. The top you can see is the bench. For those who aren't familiar with it, this is a 25-foot pink granite bench that was part of a park redesign in 1887, which included the full park redesign, including the bench, turtle fountain, and the what's known as the Puritan statue, which now stands in Merrick Park next to the Central Library. So those three elements of the park were, as well as the park itself, were designed by famed architect Stanford White and sculptor Augustus St. Gaudens. Stanford White, who actually made this bench, is a very, at the time was the architect of America. He built the Washington Square Park Arch Monument in New York City, Penn Station in New York City, and Madison Square Garden in New York City, as well as many other important architectural wonders, really. And Penn Station itself is known to be the greatest loss in one of, some would consider it the greatest architectural loss in America when it was demolished. And we're really lucky in Springfield that we have a park that was designed by this architect along with the sculptor who sculpted the Puritan statue of Deacon Samuel Chapin that you see next to the park. But unfortunately, the bench has been removed. It was removed in late July by the Parks Department. As you can see on the second photo here, you had a hole from late July to sometime in last month. This hole was just there, had 5 little barricades around it and a tipped over cone. The Parks Department has stated that the bench was a public safety concern and that it might have had structural issues, but they've given no reports as to what exactly the issue was, and no one that I know of has reported it. They've now since bricked over it when we had a press conference in October noting the issues, and out of that, the Republican was able to get into the Forest Park storage shed where it's currently being held in pieces. It was taken apart. The Parks Department says it aims to repair it, but has no plan or budget for it. So I request that the city councilors support the resolution to get a plan and timeline for the return of the bench.
Good timing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Brian McFarland. Mr. McFarland? Okay, I don't see Mr. McFarland.
I think he's on. I heard he was supposed to be.
I'm checking online. I do not see him in there. Do not see him in the queue. I'm trying one more time at the end. Next speaker is Linda O'Connell. I see Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hello. I am Mattis O'Connell, Vice President of the Metro Center Association, Metro Center Neighborhood Council. I live at 235 State Street in the classical high condominiums. Now, the Metro Center voted on October 2 to support the return to Stearns Square Park of the historic granite bench that was unexpectedly removed. As you know, an iconic centerpiece of Stearns Square since 1887, the bench was refurbished in 2019 in a $1.9 million project. Then it was taken away in July without the neighborhood council being informed of a concern about its condition or being asked to weigh in on the action that the city would take. Now, I'd like to be clear. The city's neighborhood council guidebook states that neighborhood councils are, and I quote here, the organizations that collect neighbor voices and elevate them to the city government, both elected officials and the professionals hired by the city to direct and implement the work of the city government. And then it goes on to say that the city believes that increasing citizen participation benefits the whole community by creating a positive environment of shared responsibility and collaboration. We believe that's true too. So acting positively, we wrote to Mayor Sarno and Director Ash to express our support for the return of the bench, the absence of which leaves a hole in our neighborhood. And since then, we have been waiting, as Ms. Swallow said, for an update, a plan and a timeline for the work on and the return of the bench. So we have heard nothing, as I said, so we strongly urge you to support the resolution on today's agenda to request that the Parks Department Building Recreation Management Plan and timetable for the beloved benches return be made public. And I do want to say just a little more that the concern about losing the Stern Square bench has focused me on the needs of local community in these troubled times, my neighborhood. You know, people take comfort in good memories of good times, and the memory of Stern Square and its solid and welcoming bench provides those memories for many. I am one of those residents. Back in the day when Blodgett's music store and Chilero's string instrument shop were nearby, after shopping, my mother and I spent time bonding on the bench. And the solid lore of the bench was still in play after a spring event at a Worthington Street restaurant. An old friend and I found comfort on that bench as a welcoming place to rebond.
Linda, I'm
Community
sorry.
shared connection. My final statement, the Metro Center Association urgently demands a plan for the return of the bench to Stern Square.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connell. Okay, and our final speaker is Stephen Howard. Mr. Howard? Gotta turn your microphone on, please, Stephen.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. Mr. President, good evening, everyone. Back in 2008, President Obama had put out billions of dollars for internet access, broadband, and educational facilities to teach folks how to use a computer. 3 years ago today, President Biden signed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. The bill included $65 billion with a B, $65 billion to connect everyone in America to have affordable high-speed internet service while providing connected devices and digital skills training to those who need it. Some additional money was recently released. Trying to find it here. They announced that the first award in the round earlier this week was $72 million to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. I know that's Hawaii. NTIA received more than 700 applications requesting more than $6.5 billion with a B dollars, demonstrating the resounding need for digital equity projects across America. The Broadband Infrastructure Program has made service available to more than 40,000 previously unserved houses, even as funded projects continue to kick off. There's a whole lot of other information here whereby money is made available to cities, non-for-profits, and I'm really surprised to see that the city of Springfield hasn't really tapped into some of those funds as a city. I know places like the Technology Park, they got something like $45 million. A Deaf Institute got something like $65 million for broadband, digital equity. A college got, I believe it's something like, it's over $35 million. Yet, the city of Springfield, the surrounding cities, there are about 11 of them surrounding Springfield that have received something like $1.7 million in allocations. And I'm really surprised to see that Springfield hasn't gotten some of that. And there are two rounds left, one in December, one in July, for folks to go after this money. And I'd really like the City Council to step up game. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howard. Okay, so we'll go back to see if Brian McFarland has joined to speak. Last call for Brian. Okay, that includes the speakers on this list. We did get a request tonight. Stephen, did you ask to speak as well? You asked to speak? If you come up, we'll let you speak and give you 3 minutes. We do have some extra time. I just want to remind the public who's watching at home and those who are here, it is important to sign up in advance for the speak out, because if we don't know how many speakers, then it's hard to know what time we need to start the speak out if it's really close to 6:30 or a little bit later. So we happen to have a little bit of extra time and happy to yield it to you. Okay. You got 3 minutes.
I'm here in support of the bench being replaced and put back into Stern Square. I am not going to go through the history of it because I think Erica has already explained it to you. But to use jackhammers because the bench need to be restored is absolutely absurd. They should have used a crane to remove it, and they did not use a crane at all to remove that bench. That bench is a vital part of the history of Springfield, and that bench should be returned into the present state and amended to a reasonable facsimile as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that will conclude our public speak out. Council will stand adjourned for 4 minutes till 7 o'clock. Okay, good to go. Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, November 18th. The time is 6:59, so we'll wait a few more seconds to call the meeting to order. Oh, 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please start by calling the roll?
Counselor Walsh. Absent Counselor Allen.
Present.
Present Counselor Delgado. Absent Counselor Click Bruce.
Present.
Present Counselor Govan. Absent Counselor Brown. Absent Counselor Davila. Absent Counselor Curran.
Present.
Present Counselor Santinello.
Present.
Present Counselor Edwards.
Present.
Present Counselor Whitfield.
Present.
Present Counselor Perez.
Present.
Present Counselor Fenton.
Present. Madam Clerk, will you please recognize Counselor in seat number 7?
Present Counselor Davila. Present.
Okay, Counselor and our guests, please rise for a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please recognize the counselor in seat number 1?
Counselor Walsh.
Present.
Present.
And seat number 6?
Counselor Brown.
Present.
Present.
And, okay. Any reports of committee this evening? Counselor Allen?
Thanks, Mr. President. The Finance Committee held 2 different committee meetings in the last week. In order, last week, the Tax Committee, which is put together annually with about 5 or 6 people on it to recommend tax, tax rates, et cetera. The first meeting was held last Wednesday, and we had about 15 people there, including a few counselors, but the Tax Committee was all there. And that is Chairman of the Board of Assessors, Patrick Greenhall, Mark Howard, who is an economist from Springfield College, Diana Zinel, who runs the Springfield Regional Chamber, Freddie Lopez, who has been on this committee for a few years and as a citizen, Jay Latore, who is on the committee for the first time this year, and myself as chairman of the Finance Committee. We met last week for about an hour and 10 minutes to get started on it. And our second meeting is tomorrow at 3:30, where we'll have data and start to actually work on the rates themselves. So that's tomorrow. That was the meeting from last week. And just an hour or so ago, we had a regular Finance Committee meeting that normally takes place before the City Council meeting. There were 2 city councilors there, Councilor Click Bruce and Councilor Edwards. And the meeting went fairly easily. We never took a vote. My bad, I didn't remember to do a vote at the end. I doubt there would have been any problem with a vote because most of the items just went along fine. So that is the committee report for today.
Thank you, Counselor Allen. Any other counselors with committee reports? Counselor Perez?
Mr. President, the Elders Committee met last week, and the purpose of the meeting was for the introduction of the new executive director in the Elders Department, Mr. Roy Goodman. It was a very good discussion. We also discussed about issues that have been going throughout the city when it comes to the scamming of the elders, which is a very high profile right now in our city. And we're going to continue meeting to address those issues. Very effective meeting. I had our counselors, LeVar, Bruce, and part of the meeting, Tim Allen, myself, Councilor Westfield, and other councilor members. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have two reports to give. The first one is regarding the Pilot Revenue Committee. We met last week, and in our latest meeting, Mr. President, we talked about using funds from the Department of Labor and Services to go after grants to help us create a structure for a pilot committee in the future. And that work was done by Jay Latorre, who has done a wonderful job in the committee along with the other members. My other report is the general government. We met about 2.5 weeks ago, and we talked about the need for placement, emergency temporary placement of the elderly and of the domestic violence victims. Oftentimes, usually after 7 p.m., when there's an emergency involving particularly the elderly, whether that is gas emergencies, electrical emergencies, some sort of emergencies, we have nowhere to place them if the family is not available. So that's an issue that we're working on and that we will continue to work on the summer report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a report of committee, but I did want to comment on the Finance Tax Rate Committee report. I'm a little concerned that less women are now on the committee, and 2 new members are on the committee, the economist and Juan Latore. I don't think that they're unqualified, but the fact that representation from my community is not on this committee is disturbing. I didn't hear a name of one Black person on this committee. A woman was placed also, and I have concerns with the selection process of this committee, and I did want to express that, and for that reason, I can't accept the reports of committee, although the other committees meetings that were announced, Maria Perez, Councilor Perez committee had a wonderful and great rambunctious meeting, and I missed the pilot meeting. Also, I'm on that little subcommittee with Councilor Dobb, but I will not be accepting the report of committee for that reason.
Okay. Any other councilors with reports of committee? Councilor Allen?
Digital Equity Committee, but I did attend it last week, and Jose is Councilor Davila is the chair of it. I just feel like, having attended it, the meeting went, and maybe someone from that committee is here. It seems to me there should be some mention of it here tonight, because Stephen Howard has been talking about grants, et cetera, and I believe there was someone else tonight who is concerned about digital equity. All I'll say is the only meeting I've attended of it, and I don't need to give any report, but I feel like the meeting went like 1 hour and 20 minutes, and there was all kinds of information. Somebody may be more qualified than me to talk about it, but I don't think Councilor Delgado's not in, right?
Councilor Delgado is not here tonight, so he can make that report at a future meeting.
At a future time, yeah.
Okay. Any other reports?
Mr. President?
Okay, Councilor Walsh, and then I see Councilor Santinello with his hands. Councilor Walsh.
He's probably raising his hand for the same reason I am. I attended the Elder Affairs Committee meeting. I just wanted that in the record.
Thank you. Councilor Santinello? You're muted, Councilor Santinello. Councilor Santinello, you're muted. That's okay.
He was also at the meeting.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not only was I at the meeting, I'm a member of that committee. And I just want to be in the record as being at the meeting, and I brought up some good issues at the meeting with catering, and I just want that for the record.
Thank you. Have the record reflect that. Any other councilors with committee reports?
Mr. President,
Councilor Perez?
could you please make notation that I was at the Finance Committee this afternoon? Thank you.
Okay, we'll also add that to the record. Anybody else on committee reports? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on acceptance of the reports. Actually, first, could you recognize the councilor in seat number 5?
Councilor Govan.
I'm here.
Present.
Please call the roll on acceptance of the committee reports.
On acceptance of the committee reports, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado absent. Counselor Cliff Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
No.
No, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Committee reports are accepted. Okay. Councilors, we have 6 utility petitions tonight. They're all from Eversource Gas. So unless there's an objection, I would propose that we hear all 6 of these at the same time. And if it turns out in the discussion that there's some concerns, then we can break them down. But Madam Clerk, why don't we try to call these 6 items together, please?
Item number 1 is Eversource Gas on Wellesley Street. Item 2 is Eversource Gas on Fisher Street. Item 3, Eversource Gas on James Street. Item 4 is Eversource Gas on Armory Street. Item 5, Eversource Gas on Worthington Street. And item 6 is Eversource 97 Carol Ann Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Velez, are you here to speak on these petitions? Is there anyone here to speak on these petitions tonight? Okay, Mr. Velez has wrote in the chat that his microphone is not working. Can we have a motion to continue items 1 through 6 to the end of the meeting tonight?
Motion made.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Edwards, seconded by Counselor Walsh. That'll give you some time, Hector, to sort out the IT issues. We'll hear them at the end of this agenda if this vote passes. This is a motion to continue to the end of tonight's meeting, items 1 through 6. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to continue, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado absent. Counselor Cliff Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes, and Council President, there's people in the waiting room, I think. Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Item is continued to later in the meeting. Counselor Whitfield, what did you say about people being in the waiting room? I
Yeah, we
can't
just
see the
got,
waiting room.
someone said they were in the waiting room, Brian McFarland of the Zoom meeting.
Well, he was signed up for the public speak out, which was from 6:30 to 7. I called him 3 times. He did not respond, so he's probably on the wrong link.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's take items 7 through 11 together. These are all under our threshold for grants.
Item 7 is a donation of goods to the Springfield Library Department and video magnifier. Item 8 is Parks Department donation, the amount of $2,381.70, no match required. Item 9 is the COPS anti-methamphetamine grant, no match required in the amount of $10,000. And item 10 is Fire Emergency Management Performance Grant in the amount of $71,335. And number 11 is the FY25 Shine Grant Amendment, increase no match required in the amount of $80,158.15.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll on acceptance of the grants.
On acceptance of the grants, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado absent. Counselor Cliff Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Grants are approved. Item number 12, Madam Clerk.
Item 12 is bills of prior year, various departments in the amount of $238.49.
Ms. Bono or Mr. Lonergan, someone here to speak on behalf of this item?
Hi, Mr. President. Lindsay
Oh,
Hackett.
Hi, Lindsay. How you doing?
Hi. Good, thank you. Deputy CAFO. I can speak to the bills of prior year. So we have three bills of prior year, both from FY23 and FY24, totaling $12,238.49. And we're just asking for approval to use the FY25 budget to cover these costs.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Hackett? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on acceptance of the bills of prior year.
On acceptance, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado absent. Counselor Click Bruce? Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Item is approved. Item number 13.
Item 13 is free cash to various departments FY24 in the amount of $99,517.09.
Ms. Bono, please turn the microphone on. Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. Department of Revenue has asked us to clear up some old deficits and some grant accounts. Periodically, we close out grants. There's timing issues, there is ineligible costs. So we're asking to use $99,517.09 out of free cash to clear up these deficits per Department of Revenue's request.
Thank you, Ms. Bono. Any comments or questions from the council? Councilor Whitfield?
Thank
Councilor
you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry. What is the amount?
$99,517.09 in total. There's about 15 different grants, different accounts.
I mean, how much? Oh, free cash from grant accounts?
No, it's to cover grant deficits. There's grants the city received and they weren't reimbursed for the full amount. There's timing issues where checks weren't cashed or bills weren't paid within the time frame to draw down the funds, or it was determined by the funding source that there were ineligible costs, et cetera. So these accounts go back to some of them go back as far as FY14. So we have to clear up, periodically we have to clear up old deficits that we've run. So these are a total of about 15 accounts that come to $99,517.09 out of free cash.
How much free cash is that I have?
Excuse me, Council. How much free cash, excuse me, do we have right now?
Yes.
We are just certified free cash of $21,275,296. The council approved the $3,375,000 for the law department last week, leaving a balance of $296. And then I'm asking you to approve this $99,517.09.
Has there been any talk about any free cash going to offset tax rate?
If you remember, during the budget process, the mayor committed the balance of the FY23 $1 million, the balance of $1 million to help with the tax rate, and he said that he was open to more discussions, and that was his letting you know that he will talk to you about that, yes. I don't have any numbers or anything, Counselor.
No numbers yet, huh?
Nope.
So when
But he's open to doing it, and he made a $1 million commitment to tell you that he is opening the conversation with you. He's willing to.
So we're willing to let that take place.
There's a meeting tomorrow night that's going to discuss the tax rate, et cetera, in Councilor Allen's committee.
Okay, and then there will be amounts there?
I can't commit to that, Counselor. I just know that Councilor Allen is going to have a committee meeting tomorrow night.
Yes, I'm aware of that also. but I'm just trying to figure out, like, when you all come to us for cash.
Counselor Whitfield, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're going in and out a little bit.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm only asking the questions because you come to us for free cash and it's like we're supposed to just approve it. And then when we're asking for free cash to offset for our residents, it's a difficult conversation and it shouldn't be. I don't know why these accounts are in the deficit to 2014. That's 10-year deficit and no one's seen it before now. But I mean, the mayor he did commit $1 million of last year. He did commit last year to having the conversations, but now we're knocking at the front door and no one's had a conversation yet. Doesn't feel right to me at all. Kathy, I'm not blaming you and it's not your fault, but I think the conversations need to be had. And we have a tax rate setting meeting tomorrow that I'm very unhappy about because the deck seems stacked and it seems like it was done intentionally. But I'm just really concerned about how this process is going this year, how it went last year. It is very concerning that we don't have any information of what we're going to do for our homeowners, our taxpayers, to give them some relief. And based on the numbers that I've seen so far, it looks like the tax bills are going to get another increase for another year in a row. So I'm just really not sure why we're cleaning up accounts but not talking about tax rates. Not opposed to it, Kathy, at all, but I have to bring up this every single year because we don't talk about it during budget as much as we should. And then when we get to this point again, this is the conversation we always have knocking at the door. So I'm just putting that out there for the public and the community that this conversation should have been had months ago. But here we are again with the tax rate meeting again, and we don't have any solutions except for the $1 million that was committed, which really isn't going to move the needle at all when it comes down to the tax bill. And I know we also have some interest coming to offset it also. Well, probably ain't going to move the needle much either. So those are my comments, but I'm not opposed to the free cash transfer. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Whitfield. Counselor Walsh?
Oh, I had my hand raised the last time. I'm all set, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Govan? Then
Thank you,
Counselor
Mr.
Santana?
President. Thank you. So Kathy, so this free cash is from the free cash that we're getting now that was just certified on November 4th, I believe.
It's for the FY24 free cash, correct?
The one that's coming up. Okay. And I'm not sure why we weren't notified that the free cash was certified, first of all. And today I had a press conference at City Hall regarding the property tax relief that the residents are clamoring for. So I'm in agreement with Councilor Whitfield on, wondering why we're spending free cash that we haven't gotten yet for next year's account, and we're not talking about helping out the residents. The amount that the mayor agreed to last year was good, but it's not going to do anything for our taxpayers. I have to say this, and I'll say it, I heard it today by a few residents that said that their tax bills are too high, that they're struggling. And these are seniors who have worked in Springfield. One lady was a Springfield Public Schools employee, and she retired from the school department. I think she's not, she doesn't want me to say that she's 81, she's 91, because she's not 91 yet, she's 90. And, she's saying that her income is not going to go up, right? We are all, I'm going to say, are on a fixed income. Every city employee is on a fixed income because our income is fixed. We don't get an increase because the inflation goes up. We don't get an increase because our bills go up. So, I'm wondering when we can have that conversation about the free cash. I'm proposing, us doing something permanently to make sure that when we do get free cash like this, we have an opportunity to give it back to the residents and to make sure that they are on the first and forefront minds of the administration, because this is not something that is fair to our residents. It's not something that we should continue to be doing. And I always have to go back to, the Eversource tax payment that they made, $67 million in free cash that year. And I think our residents might have gotten $6 million in relief, which did nothing for them because the tax rate was so high that they didn't even see that. So I'm in agreement with Council Whitfield. I'm not sure what we can do because I feel like we're doing things backwards, right? We're doing everything else for the city first, and then we're looking at free cash, maybe if anything is left over. We have a stabilization fund that could possibly pay those past due bills, right? What is the use of having a stabilization fund if we're not going to use it for emergencies like the Abbey Brook accident that happened? So those are my points, and I'm hoping that, you all will listen to our residents and find a way to have those conversations. If you don't want to have them with me, I'm not offended. I just want them to be had, and I want them to, be taken into consideration. Please listen to our constituents. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Santinello?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Kathy. Good to see you. Kathy, so I believe you are asking for the transfer of $99,517.09 to various departments. And I believe you say that there's different accounts. And I'm looking here at the paperwork. I believe the amounts go as little as $125 all the way up to $34,000, I believe. And so that people at home know what some of these accounts are. We have finance, we have DPW, parks, health and mass substance abuse. But Kathy, there's three of them that caught my attention. The schools, breakfast in the classrooms, that's a total of $34,321. Is that, what is that for? Is that salary? Is that to the actual products for the kids?
I actually don't know what the exact expenditures are. It was for that program. Unfortunately, the drawdown the funds were required. The grant period had expired, so they weren't able to draw those funds down.
Right.
We do have a new position in the finance department, a grants manager. I think you've met Sequoia. He is now working with all the departments, and at the end of the fiscal years, he works to make sure that all the funds are drawn down and the balances are covered.
Right.
So we did address that, and we do know, but it's not going to stop it because there are timing issues. There are ineligible costs that a lot of the
Right.
federal regulations, there's gray areas, and they can be interpreted differently.
Right, but as far as you know, Kathy, my biggest concern is the kids are still, there's no issues where the kids get their breakfast.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right,
They
just
fully
make sure.
got there. There were no, the city, basically, the city is covering these costs out of the free cash.
That will be a shame for us, but I'm glad to hear that. The Schools Davis Foundation, preschool, that's $23,000. Are you in a position to comment on that?
Yeah, they repurposed those grant funds per the donor, so that's just a balance that the city's willing to cover.
And lastly, the mass substance abuse for $9,898.
Again, I don't have the exact expenditures, but the drawdown, the grant period had expired, so they weren't able to draw down those funds.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councilor
President.
Davila. Any other councilors on this financial order? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Delgado absent. Councillor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Govan. On approval of the free cash?
Can you please repeat that, Councilor Govan?
No.
No, Councillor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Financial order is approved. Item number 14.
Item 14 is the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund FY24 franchise fee payment in the amount of $137,635.59.
Okay, Ms. Hackett?
Hi, thank you, Mr. President. So this is the quarterly payment from Comcast for the PEG Access Cable Related Fund, which is a pass-through to Focus Springfield. The second quarter payment for FY '25 is $137,635.59.
Okay, any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a quick comment regarding this, this money being used. I think last round we held up some money because there were some issues here. I just want to make a note and put it in the record that, at least from perspective, I'm pretty pleased with the work we have done. It appears that the acoustics, which are horrendous, in my understanding here, have improved tremendously. I just wanted to put that on the record for Focus Springfield, which I know they have tried so hard to ensure that government have kept up running during this crisis of COVID. So my compliments to Focus Springfield, and I just want that on the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Any other councilors? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval of the appropriation, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado absent. Councilor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Order is approved. Item number 15, Madam Clerk.
Item 15 is a supplemental budget decrease in charter school tuition state aid.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on this item?
I will take this one as well, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Hackett.
So the state budget that was passed actually included a reduced amount of charter tuition as part of its state aid package. Therefore, we do have to reduce the amount of revenue coming in on the school department side, as well as the expenses. It's $142,729, and that will actually reduce their reserve for contingency line. So there's no effect to the overall services for the school department.
Comments or questions from the council on the order? Seeing Councilor Whitfield?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Lindsay, can you just repeat it, please, a little slower?
Sure. So when we went ahead and had the budget adopted, the revenue estimates that we included for charter tuition as part of the state aid package was higher than the actual state budget was finalized. So if you remember the last meeting, there was actually an increase in Chapter 70, and we came to you to increase that budget line. So in this instance, we're actually decreasing the charter revenue line on the school department side.
Because we approved too much?
Well, because between the House budget and the final budget, the amount of charter reimbursement tuition was reduced.
But no effect to what the charter schools will receive?
No.
So it's still their per pupil rate?
Yeah, so all it's affecting is there's less revenue coming into the school department side, so they're reducing their reserve for contingency amount that they had set aside.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Govan?
Thank you, Mr. President. So Lindsay, how is that going to affect the city budget?
It's not.
It's not going to affect it.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. Lindsay, good to see you. So Lindsay, so the reserve for contingencies in the school department, are they still pretty healthy then, of course?
Yeah, I don't know what the overall amount is they have budgeted in that line, but they've raised no concerns about the reduction.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Any other councilors? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado absent. Councilor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Supplemental budget is approved. Item Item number 16.
Item 16 is a decertification of tax increment financing agreement, or TIF, for Snap
Good
Land 59 LLC.
Good evening, Mr. Connors. Get to put your microphone on, please. There you go.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you, Mr. President. Brian Connors from the Economic Development Office. The item before you is the decertification of a TIF of Snapland LLC. The reason for the decertification, if you've seen in the news, they have sold the building to a new owner. The TIF does not transfer to the new owner, so we need to do a formal decertification. In your packet is a letter from Snapland supporting the decertification and thanking the city for the support of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Connors. Any comments or questions from the council? Okay, seeing none. Councilor Whitfield?
Okay, so they come before us and they ask for these TIFs because they're invested in the city, and we approve it, and now they're not invested in the city anymore? So we decertify it?
So they have actually not received any savings from the city. This would have been the first year of the TIF. They decided after getting into the project, they actually spent far more than they were expecting and decided to sell the property. They're both tenants there are looking for new locations in Springfield.
Wait, both tenants who live at the property?
Yeah, so Snapland is a partnership between Snap Chef and Loophole. So both companies are now looking for a new location in Springfield. As I said, what basically happened is they ended up spending too much money there and decided to sell the property. But like I said, they did not receive any benefit from the city because the TIF schedule, the exemption schedule, wasn't starting until this year.
So they didn't pay any taxes, and they didn't I'm just trying to understand, Brian.
Oh, sure. No, they've paid all their taxes. They haven't received any benefit from the TIF at all. They would have started receiving a benefit this year, but because of this decertification tonight, there won't be any benefit from the TIF.
Okay, and the new owners are not going to come forward for the TIF, or you haven't heard anything? Do they know about it?
I haven't met the new owners. I don't know what their plans are. We haven't had any contact with them.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
No problem.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Any other councilors? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado absent. Councilor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Orders approved. Item number 17, Madam Clerk.
Item 17 is a resolution for the support of Stern Square bench return plan and timetable.
Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a resolution, some constituents reached out to me and some of the departments, Preservation Trust, Historic Commission. I'd like to read the resolution in full, if I may, please. So this resolution is in support of Stern Square bench return plan and timetable. Whereas the Stern Square bench is a historic and iconic staple to Stern Square Park, having been unveiled in November 24th, 1887, my apologies, along with a full park redesign by noted architect Stanford White and famous sculptor Augustus St. Gaudens. And whereas the Stern Square bench and its companion Turtle Fountain were designed specifically for their locations in Stern Square Park, and whereas the bench's restoration were among projects included in 2019 $1.95 million budget renovation of Stern Square and Durway Way. And whereas Director Tom Ash of the City of Springfield Parks, Buildings and Recreation Management ordered the removal of the Stern Square bench, resulting in the bench's removal in late July 2024. Whereas the public was not invited for commentary or opinion on the matter, as it was not presented before the Parks Commission or the Springfield Historical Commission for targeted guidance or input the treatment of this historic structure in a public park. And whereas the removal of the Stern Square bench has resulted in public outcry from neighbors, businesses, and park enthusiasts for its return, as you heard tonight. And whereas Stern Square Park and other urban public parks provide residents and visitors of Springfield a green space for socialization, play, and enjoyment of our city's environment. And whereas the Stern Square bench has been a continual gathering place in Springfield's entertaining and dining district for more than 136 years until its removal this year. And whereas the removal of the bench leaves residents and visitors no location to gather, sit, or enjoy the park except for on the Turtle Fountain, which is not designed for sitting. And whereas this Sunday, November 24th, 2024, would have marked the bench's 137th anniversary of public use in Stern Square, and whereas the bench is, instead of being in its rightful place, being stored in dismantled pieces in a Forest Park storage building without the ability for public use, access, or enjoyment, and whereas the return of the bench will contribute to restoring public hope in the promise of public parks and the duty of the Department of Parks, Buildings, Recreation Management to protect and preserve them for public benefit. Now therefore it be resolved that the City Council hereby formally request a plan and a timetable of the Department of Parks, Buildings, and Recreation Management for the Stern Square bench's return to its proper place in Stern Square Park. And I want to thank Kira Holmes and Erica Swallow for helping me to draft this resolution. As you heard, this is a very historic piece of art, I would call it, in our city of Springfield. We are very proud of our city, the city of homes, all the nice historic homes we have in our city, and this is a part of it. So I would urge our body to move forward and accept this resolution and urge these departments to at least come up with a timetable. I was hoping that Director Tom Ash would be here to help us figure out what is going on. Maybe they have a plan. Maybe we just don't know about it. I don't know. But I believe there are some public, some residents here that might be interested in speaking on it. We heard the public speak out what they said earlier. And I'm just hoping that we will, as a body, move forward with this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Perez.
Good evening. As the ward councilor, it was brought to my attention by the Executive Director of Parks Department, Mr. Tom Ash, the need for the immediate removal of the bench at Stern Square due to the extent of damages. Not only was the bench sinking into the ground at different angles, but large chunks were missing. Due to the severity of deterioration, it was very dangerous for the people who may sit down on it. The appropriate action was removing the bench immediately for the safety of the constituent, preventing for someone to get hurt. In the meantime, I have spoken to the chair of the Maintenance and Development Committee for the need to establish a venue in order to monitor and create a plan for outcome solution for the return of the bench to its right place, as well to hear from the Director of Park Department and all other city departments for the time frame and all other issues concerning the return of the bench in order to inform our constituents. It was to my surprise that a resolution was developed for the same matter without having a concise plan for the matter. Therefore, I am respectfully requesting this legislative body to approve for the further matter to be sent to the Maintenance and Development Committee, which I'm part of the committee, to further assess the situation with a present of a concise plan to the whole body, to present a concise plan to the whole body and the constituents. In conclusion, I have been a strong advocate of the community that I have served since 1969, with 45 years serving the city of Springfield. And I take very seriously any issues that arise in the city, specifically in the ward that I represent. For my colleagues in government, let's not undermine each other. Communication, collaboration, and consistency is the key for the better community. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Is that a motion to committee?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor Click Bruce. Okay, any other discussion on the resolution? Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. It does not escape me the importance of the history of the bench, as it was stated by Councilor Govan, and the communication that we have received. I do have to say that although we pay attention to the bench, which is important, and that bench has been there as long as it's been here, it is a staple of the community. And the last thing that we want is for anybody to get hurt. I haven't seen the bench. It was news to me. I found out on the news when I saw it. But I feel that in that area, why will a bench, if it's in that condition, was dragged on for so long before being removed? That's like one of the first questions I have. Right? And I don't know, because this is all brand new. But if you allow it, Mr. President, I would like to ask a question to the president of the Preservation Trust. I believe she's here. I believe I saw her.
If you'd like to come forward, if you would like to come forward,
just a
Ms.
quick
Swallow.
question. Just one quick question.
Yeah.
If
Come
not
up to
objection.
the podium, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
Got to turn the microphone on as well, please.
yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Swallow. Good to see you. My question is, has anybody seen this bench at all? From you guys, have you verified the condition of the
The
damage? of this
trust
bench?
hasn't, but the Republican, through Jeanette DeForge's article, Don Trieger had taken a photo of the bench dismantled in a Forest Park storage building. So this is the current state of the bench.
When you say dismantled, does that mean broken, or I don't know what that means?
There has been no report given by the Parks Department as to the status, but you can see in this photo that there are tooling marks on the granite. It was reported by witnesses that it was taken apart by jackhammer. And so it is in pieces. I would say, based on the tooling marks, that it was damaged during the removal.
Right, okay. So the answer to my question is, nobody from your association or any other expert, as far as you know, has seen this, expert on the matter has seen this bench?
Correct. Director Ash said that they're assessing the situation. But we haven't seen it, and I wouldn't call myself an expert on granite, but from my discussion with Director Ash, they had no budget or no plan or timetable. But it's wonderful to hear from Councilor Perez that they might be moving towards something.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Swallow. Very kind of you. Mr. President, I do think, although I understand Councilor Perez's legitimate concern, like all of us, I think that in this case, we can have our cake and eat it too. You know, I don't see any issue with passing this resolution and still holding a maintenance meeting on this issue. As I stand here, unless somebody can convince me otherwise, I don't see why we need to send this to committee. We can have our cake and eat it too. And I think, from what I'm getting, everybody wants the bench back. And it's just not a bench, it's a historical landmark. So those are my comments for now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this one, I agree with Councilor Davila on having our cake and eat it too. I think that we can still have the meeting because what I feel is the city has a communication problem. I know that Councilor Perez is the ward councilor, and just like all ward councilors, but we all make decisions for everything in this city. So whether it happens in Indian Orchard, Mason Square, Six Corners, Forest Park, East Forest Park, we all should be informed on the issues concerning the residents of the city of Springfield, because they don't look at me and say, oh, well, they might ask what ward I'm from, and then I say at large, they're still going to ask me questions. It doesn't matter where we're from. This city has a communication problem, and it typically goes to counselors that's probably going to side with them most. And I'm not saying that's the case with Counselor Perez, but this is typically what happens with the administration. And so every time we have an issue, every time something happens, every time something's removed, is because of the lack of communication. And no matter how many times we ask for transparency, communication to all city councilors, that was a quick, easy email that could have been sent around to all of us to read. And if we didn't read it, it's on us. It did not have to go to one counselor. It could have went to all of us. So we're aware, because I got the same information, except I was working out of town. So there wasn't much that I could do, but I get the same information where people are upset about these things happening because of the lack of communication. We don't have a rebuttal. I would love to have a rebuttal. I would love to be able to defend the decisions that are made in the city sometimes, but because I'm not considered a favorite, nor do I want to be, nor will I ever be, because I'm always going to say what I feel is right to Tracy, which probably makes me the least favorite. I'm still here to do a job and report correct and accurate information to my constituents. And we can't get that if we don't work together like we should. This is not a ward against at large or ward against ward. It's about doing the right thing. Like, we're all city councilors and we all should be informed with the same information, period. So while I agree with both of my colleagues on the resolution and on sending it to the Maintenance and Development Committee to see what the plan is to restore this bench, because we didn't know the granite was sinking. And now what's the plan? What are we doing with the space? We should know that. And, and it has to be said, and it has to be said publicly so that we can communicate effectively with our constituents. So thank you for hearing my piece.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I agree with my colleague, Councilor Whitfield. There is a communication gap when it comes to certain things. I believe that I've talked to Councilor Perez. So I was in the loop as far as the bench itself and Tom. I believe as counselors, if I ever venture into counselors' wards, I usually contact them as a common courtesy, because I do know Councilor Perez was working on the matter for a matter of months. So this isn't something that if any of us would have just talked to her, we would have known that it is something that she is handling and been addressing for a long time. Now, as far as the actual bench itself, going through the process of my last election, I was in the different areas, and I find that there are different benches and different landmarks that might need to be addressed. So in a meeting with Councilor Perez, it did come to that conclusion. I think it would be very irresponsible to say another bench or another landmark or something needs to be addressed. We keep having to readdress these benches or different landmarks. This isn't the only significant bench. This isn't the only significant landmark. So I would think we would not just do it one at a time as it comes up. I would think we'd go to Maintenance and Development, talk with Tommy, get a collection of all the different ones that we might want to be replaced throughout the city, not just in Councilor Perez area, and then figure out how we could target them collectively and when we're going to target them. But to just take one out of maybe hundreds and now what we're going to make 100 different resolutions. I think we should just collectively take them all, figure out what needs to be addressed in the maintenance development committee. And I want to commend my colleague, Councilor Perez, for her due diligence, because I do know this was something that she has been handling for a few months. So with that in mind, like I said, this isn't something we should continue to keep doing when it comes up. I think we should go maintenance and development and take every single piece of benches that might come up in the future, so we can just knock it out. We don't have to keep readdressing it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Santinello? You're muted, Councilor Santinello.
How's that? There's a process and a procedure that has to be followed here. I'm sure that the Park Commission should have been notified of the plan to move that bench before it was moved. I was a Park Commissioner for 12 years, Chairman for 8. And that's the procedure we have to follow. And also, that's a St. Gaudens. Okay, that's priceless. So I'd like to get an estimate who's going to repair that bench, who's technically capable of preparing that bench, because it isn't going to be inexpensive.
Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm really, really glad to hear that Director Ashes has plans to restore the bench and to put it back in its proper place. And I think it goes right along with the resolution, right? Because that's exactly what we want. So I'm excited to hear that. I'm really, I guess, agree that with Councilor Whitfield about the communication problem that we have in this city. You know, not everybody knows everything, and I think we have like a central email that we could send notices out to. You know, the Park Commission, I don't know if the Park Commission heard about this, the removal of the bench, right? When I was reached out to by the constituents in the city and by people who are very concerned about it, I had to act, and that's what I did, right? So when I sent the resolution out, I don't know if Councilor Perez read it or not, but she could have, you know, said to me, oh, Director Ash is, you know, working on this. But that didn't happen. And that's okay, right? Because this is where we're at in the city. I think what we need to do is pass this resolution so that Director Ash can be happy about it. And we could send it to committee to figure out how it's going to happen, because it has to be replaced. It's, you know, what Councilor Santinello said, it's priceless. It's something that the city should be very, very proud of. And we need to restore it back to its original splendor, I'm going to say. We have CPA funds that we can apply for to restore the bench. I don't know if it'll cost more than $250,000 or what, but I think it's something that really needs to happen. And I think what Councilor Perez read goes right along with the resolution is asking. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Any other councilors? Councilor Perez?
Councilor Walsh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor, you want to yield to Councilor Walsh? Okay, Councilor Walsh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, and hopefully Focus can fix my, unfortunately, there's no way for to raise my hand from Zoom.
Right.
Anyhow, that's beside the point. But it sounds to me, Mr. President, from everybody who spoke tonight, I think everybody's on the same page. Everybody wants the same thing. And I don't see how sending this to committee will delay the return of the bench, because there don't appear to be anything concrete. That's a pun for tonight, in place for the actual return of the bench. And I think that my feeling as a member of the council is when another councilor asks for something to be sent to committee, I like to do that as a courtesy. So I'm going to support the move to committee.
Councilor Perez. Your microphone, please.
Just for the records, I have constituents coming to me, in fact, for the concern of the bench. I think that what I reintegrating here was the immediate removal for the safety of the constituents. I have to say that we are elected by the community, and they give us a confidence of vote that we could speak on behalf of them. My concern with the resolution was that it was not a concise plan, and turning it and sending it to committee from the economic aspect, from the structure of the bench and other bench in the city, this is new. My reaction to all this has been that sometimes we think that the people that represent the board are not working on the matter, and we should all work together. Yes, I saw the resolution, and as a politeness, I didn't object to the resolution. What I'm objecting is the way, the via of communication, because I would have said, yes, this is plan A, plan B that we have in place in order to, there's many questions when it comes to the historic portion of it, that in one simple resolution is not putting the plans to move forward. Therefore, that's why I have met with Councilor Marlowe to see how could we go about, and you heard loud and clear, this is a learning process. So let's do the things right so we don't have 900 resolutions in the city for different benches. So that was the aspect of it. I sound very disappointed because, you know what, I've been investing in this community as volunteer. And now that I'm in the legislative part of it, I take it very serious as I have been working for 45 years in this community. So my only concern is we really need to bring this and assess and comprehend what's going with the bench, not only with this bench, but what's going on in the city when it comes to prehistoric benches. And I will be in consensus of sending it to committee because there's a lot of questions that my constituents ask me that I don't know. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Click Bruce? You got to put your microphone on, please.
Thank you, Council President. I wasn't going to speak on this, but definitely hearing what everybody's saying. I think we're all saying the same thing. I'm going to say what Councilor Wass stated, you know, when the ward councilor, I'm a ward representation, and again, I heard what everybody said, but when the ward councilor speaks and asks for a request, I'm more liable to grant it. Also, I do believe, and I don't have the exact date, an email was sent from the administration in reference to the removal of the bench. I can get the exact email, but I do believe seeing that sometime in September. I don't have the exact date top of my head. So I hear what everybody's saying. Yes, there's communication gaps throughout this world, right? So we all can do better. I can do better. So let's just work together, and those are my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Click Bruce. Councilor Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the things that I haven't heard is anybody say that they don't want or expect that the bench will be returned. Tom Ash has not said that he would not bring the bench back. As far as communication is concerned, yes, probably things could have been done better. The explanation that he offered for us to say is not accurate is an insult to his character and his position. I think there should be less concern whether the resolution passes or whether or not we send it to committee. It will go to committee regardless of whether it passes or not. It's a complicated situation because obviously it has been removed. Whether it was the right thing to do or not, depending on whose perspective is looking at this situation, it has been moved. Mr. Ash has not said that he would not bring it back. What he has said is that it's going to be costly. We haven't figured out how much the cost is going to be. We have not identified who has the skill set in the area to be able to do the work. But the one thing he hasn't said is that it wasn't coming back. There have been other situations where things, whether they were historic or not, that are public property that have been in need of being removed. And whether it's a basketball hoop at one of the local parks being hanging down, they go in, they don't they don't notify the neighborhood council, they don't notify the city council that they're taking it down. They just take it down and they fix it. Any other bench that it would not be historic or anything else in the city that needs repair, they wouldn't notify us for that either. My concern is that this seems like it's being politicized to a point where the There's a role for the trust and for those of interest of historic preservation, which I am one, in terms of my desire to see our historic properties maintained, but also the process this seems like this is more about the process than the fact that and who the players are and people's perception of how things were communicated. I've heard people reached out to certain people and didn't get back to them in a timely manner. I too am a ward counselor. The oath I take is for the entire city, but I get elected from Ward 3. I have had colleagues who have spoken on things in Ward 3 that they probably didn't quite have a great enough grasp for me to feel confident when they were speaking on it. I didn't feel like I needed to publicly chastise them. They are voted as well as I am. But the reality is I didn't vote for anybody in the chamber here in terms of the ward councilors. I can't vote for you, just like they can't vote for me. But in deference to my colleague, when a ward councilor does ask for something to go to committee, we generally like to send it there, and we like to do it just out of respect for them because they are the ones who are going to have to speak and listen to their constituents who actually vote for them directly. The passage of the resolution won't change anything. It may be, if it was going to actually force or quicken the process, then I'd be all in favor of it. I'm not going to suggest that if it doesn't pass, it will elongate the process. I'm not going to suggest that if it's passed, it will make the process quickened anymore. But the head of the Maintenance Development Committee has agreed already, through multiple conversations with my colleagues, that he intends to hold a meeting on it. Tom Ash, the chair of that, the department head, will be in attendance at that meeting, and all questions can be asked in a time frame. He may not be prepared at that time to have a time frame, but that's the normal process. When we usually use these types of resolutions, the purpose is usually to send a message to somebody that needed to hear the message. And typically we've used resolutions to send to our legislators in Boston, because they typically, outside the ones that we elect locally, don't listen or aren't paying attention to what's going on here in Springfield. Tom Ash is our neighbor, our former colleague, and the department head. He knows what he needs to do. He knows what is the will and desire of the council, of the trust, the historic commission, and the preservationists in the city. It's not like we have to yell and scream or even send a resolution for him to know what is being expected from him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Any other councilors? Councilor Whitfield?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. It's just a couple comments that I wanted to address because it feels a little odd that ward counselors are saying when a ward counselor speaks, we have to listen to him more. So it makes me feel as an at-large counselor that you don't listen to us as much as you listen to ward counselors. When we ask for something to go to committee, do we get less respect from our request because we asked for something to go to committee and we're not necessarily ward counselors? Those comments don't seem fair, and they're a bit hurtful because we work just as hard and maybe harder than some, and we're not ward counselors. So I think that we should just look at situations and not who's presenting it. But I know Councilor Edwards a lot of times say vote your heart and listen to the facts. And that should be what's in consideration and not if you're a ward counselor or an at-large counselor. And I just had to say that because those comments didn't feel good to me. We should all have the same level of respect, whether we're a ward counselor or at-large counselor, because those that only vote for you, but who's voting for you is voting for us in every ward. And so we're responsible for yours and yours and yours and yours and yours and yours. We're responsible for them all. And so I think that we should just consider, like when we're making comments like that, to consider that this council is made up of at-large and ward representation, and everybody's opinion is valued to me just like everybody else's, not because you're in a ward. So if I'm going to vote on what Counselor Perez is saying is because I believe in what she's saying, not because she's the ward counselor. If I'm going to vote on what Counselor Govan said, it's not because she's a ward counselor, but it's because of what she's presenting. And that's how we should be looking at the information. And that's how we should be voting on what we're sending to committee or not. And I as far as Tom Ash goes, I'm glad that he also made the commitment, but I'm not voting for anything that anyone said just because they were in a elected position before. That makes no difference. It's all based on facts and solutions. And if the solutions aren't great for the whole city, whether you were a counselor before or worked for the city, because a lot of the things that he's done as the chief of staff of the mayor, I totally didn't agree with. And so being in a role before doesn't dictate the work that you can do now or even what you know now. Like, so I don't agree with some of those comments that were made here at the city council today, but I am going to vote my heart based on the information that was presented. I'm not opposed to anything going to committee because I value both of my colleagues' opinion and I value what both of them have done for the community and I value both of their opinions. And I do agree that if something is happening in each other's ward, that at minimum, those two parties should talk because we don't want to offend the other ward. And I think that Councilor Govan also gets that because she's also a ward counselor. So, you know, I just wanted to throw those things out there. And thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Any other councilors? Councilor Edwards?
First of all, I would like to apologize if my words were taken the wrong way, and I'll simply state that that was not my intention. I am at times not as articulate as I would like to be. But let me at least start or end this conversation by saying that the deliverer of the message doesn't get to decide how it's received.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Any other councilors? Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that this has been a very good, robust discussion. I'm encouraged by the fact that based upon the discussion we have seen today here, that we are sending a very clear message to all parties involved that we take history seriously. At this point, I have more questions than answers. I really do. One thing that as I sit here, and by the way, I don't expect anybody to call me telling me, you know, we took a basketball hoop out, we did this. That's not my role. That's not, I don't believe in micromanaging any department. That's what they're the department head for. Not me. I do think, some of the councilors have alluded to, better communication could have been done, particularly would involve a 100-plus year staple in the community. I'm also deeply disturbed that from what we heard from Ms. Swallow, there's apparently more damage to the bench now. We don't know that because nobody has seen it. They actually take this time, Mr. President, to call upon the Parks Department to, at the very least, allow the Preservation Trust, who, as far as I know, are the experts on history and historical landmarks. I'm not, to inspect the bench so that we can start formulating, and like many of you say, work together on this issue, right? That's at the minimum. We need to take a look. When I say we, I don't mean us, the council, the experts, the Preservation Trust, the experts. Tell us what the real condition is of this bench. Wanted to put that on the record because I think that is really bothering me. I'm really concerned as to the shape and the current situation and state of that bench. Mr. President, as I sit here today, I still think we can eat our cake. We can have our cake and eat it too. And I'm not going to get into one councilor, ward councilor, or large councilor. We're all councilors. And we all love the city deeply. But we all know our respective areas. Out of a courtesy for the ward council to Ms. Perez, I will vote to go to committee out of respect for her and her request, with the understanding that I am now paying attention to this. We're not going to have 6 months go by, a year go by, and not a peep. We are paying attention to this now, and that bench needs to come back to where it belongs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just wanted to say about the resolution, I'm not sure if Erica is still in the chambers. But you know, I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I want to do this resolution, right? I was reached out to by the constituents in our city, who are not just from Ward 1, and don't just live downtown, but they're from all over the city. And they reached out to me and asked me to do this. And that's the reason that I'm putting it forward. So I'm really excited that it has come to this light, right? Because when they took the bench out, nobody knew about it, I guess. I don't know. But I think it's time for us to, I guess, pay attention to it. And it was just taken out, what, a few months ago, I think. We need to have at least some communication, especially with the historic and the preservation commissions, who are the ones who pay attention to this, right? The neighbors that live in that area that would visit that bench. I don't know if you all were listening to the public comment tonight, but a few residents came out and talked about how they used to sit on that bench and they have good memories of it. So I want our residents to continue to have those good experiences. And that's the reason that I'm putting it forward. You know, I agree. We can have our cake and eat it too, right? If we're deciding to make 900 resolutions, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. And in reference to the ward counselors, I hope that you all, if I am saying something from Ward 8 that is not good for the city, I don't want you to vote with me, because if it's not good for the city and I'm putting it forward, you need to vote it down, you know? So I'm not saying that what Councilor Perez is doing is not good for the city, but I'm just saying, just because I'm the ward counselor and I bring something forward, I usually listen to what the ward counselor says, I especially listen to the neighborhood councils. If the neighborhood councils is telling me something that they want and that they want to pass, then that's what I bring forward, because it's not my opinion that I bring forth. I bring forth my constituents' opinions. I bring forth things that I think will benefit the city. So, you know, again, that ward counselor, at-large counselor thing, we're all city councilors, like Councilor Davila said. You know, and we all work for the city of Springfield. I don't just focus on Ward 8. That's why I'm all over the city all the time. You know, when you come out to Ward 8, I don't expect you to touch base with me. You know, please come out here. Please visit. Please do something for Ward 8. I'm grateful for it. So again, you know, I'm at the bequest of my constituents, this resolution is being put forth. And I think that we can have a resolution and we can send this to committee so that we can continue to keep the lines of communication open and make a plan to restore this bench and bring it back to our city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very, very short comment. I want to say thank you to Councilor Govan and Davila for your comments, but I also wanted to say thank you to Councilor Edwards for his apology. Not really, it was just a blanket statement because you weren't the only one that I heard it from tonight. And I hear it quite often. It's my ward, it's my ward, it's all of our ward. We all represent the whole city. Every ward is all of our wards. You might know a little bit more about your ward because maybe you're going to the meetings a little bit more, but it's all of our wards. It's one city, it's one Springfield, and everyone's perception is their reality. So no matter who's delivering it, the person who's receiving it is going to be their perception. And so we just got to be very careful about like the division that it could cause, because I did feel a little bit of that. And I just wanted to just say I appreciate all of y'all comments because we are all city councilors. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Any other councilors on this? Motion to committee. Okay, seeing none. Motion's been made and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on referral of this matter to the Maintenance and Development Committee.
On referral to committee, Councilor Walsh.
You're muted.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor
Point of
Allen?
order. I'm sorry, point of order, Mr. President.
Yes, Counselor
Um,
Govan?
Are we sending the resolution to the committee or the park bench to committee?
This is to send the resolution to committee. That is the only motion that would be in order.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Walsh has voted yay. Madam Clerk, please resume the roll call.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado absent. Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
No.
No, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more insufficient. Matters refer to the Maintenance and Development Committee. Okay, Madam Clerk, we have to return to items 1 through 6, which were continued from earlier in the meeting. Hector, I think he has messaged us and said that his microphone is fixed, so please call items 1 through 6, Madam Clerk.
Item 1 through 6 are Eversource Gas, Wesley Street, Eversource Gas, Fisher Street, Eversource Gas, James Street, Eversource Gas, Armory Street, Eversource Gas, Worthington Street, and Eversource 97 Carol Ann Street.
Thank you very much. Mr. Velez, can you tell us about what these petitions are for, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and councilors. The Eversource is working with Eversource Gas. It's working replacing the cast iron pipe around Springfield. It's a pipe that has more than 100 years. It's not reliable anymore. And they are replacing for a plastic, an upgrading for a plastic pipe. They're working in different neighborhoods like McKnight, Pine Point, Metro Center. This 5 petition is for different neighborhood. They're working. It's going to be for the next year, I think so, 2025. If I'm wrong, there's a Eversource Gas present. And the last petition, 97 Cattle Ann, is it's not a gas, it's electric. They're going to install a box between 2 houses, 97 Cattle Ann and 107 Cattle Ann, to upgrade the electrical service to the house on 97 Cattle Ann.
Mr. Velez, are there any comments or questions from the council on these 6 petitions? Councilor Whitfield.
I just have a quick question. Hector, how do these upgrades affect the traffic, and how long do they normally take?
How long, Mr. Councilor?
I'm sorry, Hector.
Can you repeat the last question?
Oh, how long do these upgrades normally take, and how will it affect the traffic in the respective areas? Can you all hear me?
We can hear you, Councilor Whitfield. We can't hear Mr. Velez. Hector, could you hear Councilor Whitfield's 2 questions?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. The Eversource Gas have to send a traffic plan depending on the area. Sometimes it's inside the neighborhood. It's easier when it's on the main road or arterials. And they have to send a traffic plan, how long the work takes. That's Eversource Gas. I don't know the time. If I think so, there's a person.
Yes, I think Matthew Nichols was here from Eversource.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I just didn't want to speak over Hector. So, yeah, there's 5 projects that we have on the docket tonight. They're all between 1,000 and 5,000 feet roughly, and we should expect that the projects will take between 3 and 6 months. We'll have anywhere from 100 feet to 200 feet of the road either shut down or lanes narrowed for various periods of time. But you should expect like between 100 and 200 feet for any given day. And there'll be traffic officers, cones, signs, and like Hector said, we produce traffic plans in advance and provide them to Patrick Garrity, so he gets a chance to review them and approve them.
Okay, perfect. Are they like staggered projects, Matthew?
Staggered as in
at
like the
different times?
duration.
Yeah, no, like you start one and then when it's almost complete, start the other one like that? Or will they be happening simultaneously?
Yeah, I believe they're all slated to start in April 15th. So that most of these should be going simultaneously, but they're all in different areas across the city. So I don't believe that there's too much interference between each of them.
And Eversource repairs the street that is affected at that time?
So it depends. Either it depends whether the city is planning to pave that street. Some of these projects, I believe, are paving projects. I'd have to review the list again, but if the city was planning to pave that street already, then we let them do. We actually develop these projects in anticipation of them paving, so they'll do the paving work. But if we're opening streets that they're not planning to pave in the near future, then yeah, we'll do full, complete restoration, mill and overlay.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Any other comments or questions from the council on these petitions? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on items 1 through 6.
On approval of the petitions, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado absent. Councilor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Items are approved. Any more business, Madam Clerk?
There is not.
Okay, council will stand adjourned. Our next meeting, councilors, is our hearings meeting on Monday, the 25th. We do have a special meeting scheduled for 5 o'clock that day on the tax rate setting procedure. So 5 o'clock on the 25th, and then the hearings meeting to follow at 7 o'clock. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.